Hello everybody, my name is Walter and this is episode 30 of the Redstone Commands Series. In this episode I want to cover the fillbiome command, which is somewhat niche but can be nevertheless rather useful under the right circumstances. But what can you actually do with this command? Well, you can use this command to change the biome within an area in the game world. With the change in biome, you also change potentially what mobs can spawn there, how the grass, leaves, water, and so on are colored, or what flowers you get when you bone meal a grass block, or maybe you have floating particles in the air, and so on and so on. All of that comes with the specific biome and can now be applied via this command, which makes this rather interesting for adventure map makers, but also if you want to test a mob farm or a flower farm, now you don't need to go to the required biome. You can bring the biome to you. So this makes this a bit niche, but nevertheless very useful, especially if you tend to design in a void world where no mobs can spawn besides of phantoms. Now you don't have to design it there and then copy it into a real world or a non-void world. Now you can just change the biome and test it in your void world. Very, very useful in my opinion. Little side note here, biomes are set in so-called cells, which are basically a group of 4x4x4 blocks. And those as a whole have just the same biome. So this is a bit to minimize how much memory the game requires for a save. Within or between those different cells, the boundaries are somewhat randomized and smoothed out, so you get a more natural feeling and not hard cutting corners where the biomes meet. Just a little side note there. And with that, let's get to the syntax of the command. So this is pretty straightforward. We start with the name of the command, fillbiome. Then we need to specify the area where we want to change the biome within by just giving two opposing corners with the XYZ coordinates. This can be absolute or relative. And then we need to specify which biome we want to place. So this can be the void or deep dark. As usual, the autocomplete function is quite helpful. So if we start with the biome here and just give some coordinates, doesn't really matter which ones. And now you can get a quick list of all the biomes that are available. You can find a similar list in the wiki. Link in the description. Following that, you can optionally define something like a filter. So you write down replace, and then you give it a biome. And if you do that, only if this biome is set in a specific cell, then it will be overwritten with the new biome. All other biomes will remain as they were and will not be changed. So very similar to the fill command when you're working with blocks. Now, let's get to a few examples. So for that, I prepared this little pond here with grass around, so you can see the color changes a bit. And I choose to first set the right half of this pond to swamp. And if I do this, you can see immediately the water darkens to the corresponding color. And you can also see in the F3 menu here what swamp we are in, or what biome we are in this case swamp. What you can also see is the swamp goes to the middle line, although in the command I made sure that the swamp or the coordinates I gave to the swamp were actually starting here in this line and then going to the right. So you can see already this 4x4x4 cell mechanic working. So it noticed, okay, I have some blocks in this cell here, but the cell goes up to this point, and subsequently all of those blocks here are in the corresponding biome. So just keep that in mind that you are working with those cells here. Nevertheless, let's continue on with setting the right or the left half of this pond to desert. And you can see the grass immediately dries out. We have a bit of an area where we have this gradual change. And if you look in the F3 menu, you can see I have desert and then the swamp. Again, the desert I gave the coordinates for would have started in this line, but nevertheless, they will already be in this line here due to the cells. Also, where I'm currently standing is no longer also void because the cell is going to where I'm actually standing. So just a quick example for the cell mechanic. Next, with this biome, I'm addressing the entire pond. I'm changing the biome to void where I have a biome desert. So let's do that. And you can see the desert has been changed back to the void. So the colors are back to this bright green. But the swamp was not affected. And if I want to affect everything, I can just leave out the replace function and now everything is back to the void. And with that, we have reached the end of this episode about the fill biome command. I hope you enjoyed it and well, see ya.